All right. So welcome to Awakened Ave, and so I'm gearing up and getting ready to make an attempt at a through hike of the Appalachian Trail from Springer Mount, Georgia to Maine, and a little less than 2,200 miles, and a very inexperienced attempt. So I've been consumed in trying to order gear and make sure I'm as prepared as I possibly can, which will still be grossly unprepared, but it's been a fun ride, and so many people have reached out to me saying they're inspired by my story and what I'm doing, and I'm a former Marine, a former law enforcement officer, and former real estate broker who is kind of engrossed in the wheel of achievement and trying to become somebody, and had a lot of success in life, and but I was also suffering immensely, right? And I had this major I was also arrested for being a drug dealer and incarcerated for a little bit, and publicly humiliated former narcotics officer arrested in drug sting, but that was a catalyst for me to awaken, and really, what is awakening? And I've said this before, what is an awakening? We talk about it like it's some religious or mystical experience, and that wasn't my experience at all, right? I could just suddenly see that I was an actor my whole life, and everything that I was presenting, this persona, right, this image, my identity, and I was so wrapped up into that and it was a lie, right? So I want to come on here and really, what is, if you're struggling or if you're suffering, I want to come on here and say what really happened to me, right? Because what is a person? What is an individual? What are you? Aren't we all just really a collection of experiences? Isn't that what makes you unique? Why are you unique? Nobody's experienced what you've experienced, and we tell ourselves a story, right? We are storytellers. We're all actors playing a role, and most of us don't know that we're playing a role. So if we're a storyteller, and what do I mean by that? So one day, somebody in recovery, is talking to me, and he tells me, he says, "Yeah, things are going pretty good, but my truck I'm single, and my truck is a piece of crap, and I'm not going to meet somebody in my piece of crap truck." And he just went on, the typical stuff that we all cling to, right? And as we were talking, I said, "Your truck's a piece of crap in relation to who? In relation to somebody who doesn't have a vehicle, you're pretty blessed. And maybe that truck breaks down on you at a 7-Eleven one day, and you meet the girl of your dreams at that 7-Eleven because your truck broke down." And he instantly got it, and he instantly could change his story that he told himself. And really, that's what awakening is changing your story. Seeing the illusion that you create. The drama of life, right? The drama that we create. And changing that narrative and changing the way you tell that story. So every single person on the planet has went through bad things and had traumatic events, and it shapes who you become. But you are the narrator of your story. And how do you want to tell it? And how do you want to experience life? And what do you want out of life? I don't know if anybody can really answer that, right? because I still don't know what I want out of life. It's not doing something. It's not completing the Appalachian Trail. It's not it's not being happy all the time. Those are just stories I tell myself. And I know today that I tell those stories. And I know that I'm an actor. I'm a little less intentional actor today, or maybe I'm more intentional actor, I guess I should say. That I realize that the story is mine. And I can make it any way I want to make it. I can make it, I could be the hero, or I could be the victim. I realize that bad things happen to people, and that's life. I mean, that is life, and it's happened to all of us. But whether we label it or not as good or bad is up to you. So I was a drug addict, humiliated, incarcerated, and I could sit around and play the victim and blame society, blame the world, and blame everybody around, blame politicians and pharmaceutical companies and cartels, right, or bullies, or conditioning and society. But all of those things made me who I am today. And I seen the story that I told myself that just kept me perpetually wrapped up in self-pity and regret and miserable. So when I talk about awakening, really, it's not some mystical experience. Suddenly I saw the truth that I was unintentionally playing a role that contributed 100% to my struggling. I have less today than I probably ever have in my entire life. I gave away all my possessions, moved down to a tent. Why am I more fulfilled today? Why am I more joyous, content with less? Because I am responsible for the story that I tell. I'm not responsible for what happens around me. I can't control those things. But I can control how I respond to them. I can control what I focus on and pay attention to. I can control how I want to live the experience, right? And I don't know if I'm even going to enjoy hiking, right? But I know myself pretty good today, and I know that it doesn't matter what I do. I'm not trying to create a story for tomorrow. I'm trying to live purposefully today in this experience. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I look at life as like going to the movies every day. I don't know what the other characters are playing, what roles they're playing. I don't know if I'm going to see a comedy or a drama or an action movie, an adventure, or even a horror story, right? But I show up every day excited to see what the movie is going to play. And I play my role with intention. And so can you. So if you're struggling for any reason, remember that you are the narrator of your story. Me and you could be at the same place and tell a story completely differently. Who's right? It's all just a story. And when you can change the way you tell your story, then your life changes. And this is how powerful, like, positive self-talk is. You don't even have to believe it. You don't even have to. You can play the role. But if you tell yourself every day that you want to have a good experience today, you'd be surprised at how many good experiences you can stack up. You know, we tell ourselves that I don't have the courage, or I'm a shy person, or I'm a strong person. Those are stories that we tell ourselves, because you can go from being an introverted, shy person to being an extroverted, gregarious person. You can change that anytime you want to. What role do you want to play in life? What experiences do you want to have? So if you tell yourself, I can't do, I've always wanted to do something like the Appalachian Trail, but I can't because of this and this and this and this, then that's exactly the way your life is going to unfold. But if you really look inside and you really realize that it's just a story you're telling yourself, and it's really just because you have to keep up with what everybody else is doing and how they're living their life, and your story is so related to everybody else's. And that's okay too, as long as you're not struggling, as long as you're not suffering, as long as you're not depressed or miserable, or feel like your life is broken. We can't change the past, and we can't change anybody else, but we can change our story. You could be anything you want to be. It's your story. How do you want to tell it? Thank you for stopping by.